He had it all: power, money, a $12 billion empire. Yet he had no idea his own daughter was washing dishes in a rundown diner. And when he walked into that place for the first time in 20 years, the waitress looked at him like a stranger, then coldly asked, "Who are you?" But what happened next? We'll leave you holding your breath until the very end. Hey guys, where are you watching from? I'd love to know. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means the world to me. It really keeps me going. Can't wait to see your thoughts in the comments. What if a billionaire, successful beyond measure, found the one thing money couldn't buy? What if, after years of ignoring his family, he discovered that the cost of neglecting his daughter was a debt far greater than any fortune he could amass? Malcolm Reed was a titan. At 55, he helmed Reed Enterprises, a $12 billion empire spanning tech, real estate, and finance. His name was etched in gold on skyscrapers, his face a fixture on famous covers. He owned a fleet of private jets, a yacht docked in Monaco, and a Manhattan penthouse that could house a small village. But behind the polished exterior, Malcolm was a man unraveling. 20 years ago, Malcolm had made a choice that defined him. His marriage to Elena, his college sweetheart, was fraying. Elena dreamed of a quiet life with their daughter, Ava. Malcolm dreamed of conquering the world. When Ava was 5, Elena demanded a divorce, citing Malcolm's obsession with work. He didn't fight her. He signed the papers, sent child support, and let Elena take Ava. He told himself it was for the best. Ava would be happier without his chaos. But the truth was uglier. Malcolm had chosen ambition over family. For years, Malcolm buried his guilt in deals and deadlines. Ava faded into a footnote, a name on a bank statement. He didn't call, didn't visit, didn't even send birthday cards. He convinced himself Elena would give Ava everything he couldn't. But the late-night call shattered that delusion. The caller was Marissa, Elena's sister. Her voice thick with grief and venom. Elena had died in a car accident 3 weeks ago, Marissa said. Ava, now 25, was struggling, and Malcolm had no clue where she was or what her life had become. You left her, Malcolm, Marissa spat. You built your empire on her broken heart. Now deal with the consequences. Sleep eluded Malcolm after the call. He paced his penthouse, the glittering city mocking his turmoil. For the first time in decades, he felt small, powerless. By dawn, he'd hired Victor Lane, a private investigator with a reputation for finding ghosts. I'll track her down, Victor said, lighting a cigar. But brace yourself. This ain't going to be pretty. While Victor worked, Malcolm tried to focus on his empire. A $3 billion merger loomed, a deal that could redefine his legacy. But his mind was elsewhere. What did Ava look like now? Did she know his name? Did she hate him? The questions clawed at him, exposing a vulnerability he'd buried under layers of success. 6 days later, Victor called. Got her, he said, his voice grim. She's in Willow Creek, a nowhere town 3 hours out. Works at Ray's Diner. But Malcolm, she's not living some charmed life. You need to see it for yourself. Victor's tone carried a warning, but he offered no details. Malcolm canceled his meetings and drove to Willow Creek, his Mercedes weaving through dusty roads lined with cornfields. His stomach churned as he pulled into the diner's gravel lot. Ray's was a relic, peeling paint, a flickering neon sign, windows clouded with grime. He sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel, his heart pounding. How do you face a daughter you abandoned? What words could bridge 20 years of silence? Malcolm stepped into Ray's Diner, the bell above the door jangling. The air was thick with the scent of burnt coffee and bacon grease. Truckers hunched over the counter, their laughter rough and warm. And then he saw her. Ava was behind the counter, her dark hair tied in a loose bun, her apron streaked with ketchup and coffee stains. She was thinner than he'd imagined, her face carved with exhaustion. But her eyes, Elena's eyes, emerald green and fierce, sparked with life even through the weariness. She was refilling a customer's mug, her movements quick, practiced, like someone who'd learned to keep moving no matter the weight on her shoulders. Malcolm's throat closed. This was his daughter, and she was a stranger. He slid into a booth, his hands shaking as he grabbed a laminated menu. Ava approached, notepad in hand, her gaze fixed on the paper. "What can I get you?" she asked, her voice flat, professional. He lowered the menu, his voice barely audible. "Ava." She froze, her pen hovering. Slowly, she looked up, her eyes narrowing. "Do I know you?" "It's me," Malcolm said, his voice breaking. "Your father." The diner seemed to hold its breath. Ava's face hardened, her jaw tightening. "You're mistaken," she said, turning away. "Ava, please," Malcolm called, standing. Heads turned, the air thick with curiosity. "I just want to talk." She spun back, her eyes blazing. "Talk? After 20 years? You don't get to waltz in here and play dad. Get out." The words hit like a slap. The truckers stared, their forks paused mid-bite. Malcolm's face burned, but he couldn't move. "I know I failed you," he said. "I know I don't deserve this. But I'm here now." Ava's laugh was sharp, bitter. "Here now? Wow. What a hero. You're about 2 decades late." She stormed into the kitchen, the swinging door slamming behind her. Malcolm stood there, the bell's faint jingle mocking him as he retreated to his car. He wanted to chase her, to beg. But her anger was a wall he didn't know how to breach. Malcolm didn't leave Willow Creek. He checked into the Willow Inn, a motel with sagging beds and flickering lights, a far cry from his usual luxury. He needed to understand Ava's life, to see the cost of his absence. Over the next few days, he observed from a distance, piecing together her reality. Ava lived in a cramped apartment above a laundromat, the walls thin enough to hear the dryers hum. She worked double shifts at Ray's, her days stretching from 6 a.m. to midnight. Malcolm learned from a talkative regular, an old man named Walt, that Ava was raising a 6-year-old son, Caleb, alone. Caleb's father, Travis, had vanished when the boy was a baby, leaving Ava to fend for herself. She was behind on rent. Her car was a rusting relic, and she skipped meals to ensure Caleb had enough. Yet she was a fierce mother. She took Caleb to the park every Sunday, helped him with homework, and saved every dime for his future. Malcolm was devastated. He'd pictured Ava in college, maybe starting a career, living the life his wealth could have bought. Instead, she was fighting to survive, and he hadn't even known. His billions could have changed everything. A safe home, a good school, a chance for Caleb. But when he approached Ava again, offering help, she shut him down. "I don't want your money," she snapped, scrubbing tables after her shift. "I've made it this far without you. Why would I need you now?" "Because I'm your father," Malcolm said, his voice raw. "And I owe you." "You're not my father," Ava said, her eyes like ice. "A father shows up. You're just a stranger with guilt." Her words cut deeper than any boardroom betrayal. Malcolm realized money wouldn't fix this. Ava didn't want his wealth. She wanted the father she'd lost. And he had no idea how to be that man. But Malcolm refused to give up. He started visiting Ray's daily, not to pressure Ava, but to be present. He ordered coffee, left generous tips, and sat quietly, watching her work. At first, Ava ignored him, her anger a tangible force. But gradually, she softened. She'd refill his mug without a word or mutter a grudging thanks for his tip. One evening, as Ava struggled with a jammed lock on the diner's back door, Malcolm offered to help. He grabbed tools from his car and fixed it, his hands clumsy but determined. Ava watched, arms crossed, but didn't stop him. When he finished, she nodded. "Not bad for a city guy," she said, a flicker of a smile breaking through. It was a crack in the wall, and Malcolm clung to it. He found small ways to help, not with money, but with time. He picked up Caleb from school when Ava's car broke down, sat with him at the park while Ava worked late. Caleb was a whirlwind, bright, curious, with Ava's green eyes and a laugh that lit up the world. Malcolm saw himself in Caleb's questions, his fear of being left behind. And he saw Ava's strength, her unyielding love for her son. Through Caleb, Malcolm glimpsed Ava's resilience. She wasn't just surviving. She was building a life, despite every setback. Malcolm's world of private jets and penthouses felt empty by comparison. He'd chased wealth, but Ava had purpose, and it humbled him. Back in the city, Malcolm's empire was faltering. The $3 billion merger was unraveling, his board questioning his focus. Vanessa, a sharp-witted woman who'd climbed the ranks under Malcolm, was pushing to take control. "You're distracted, Malcolm," she said during a heated call. "This deal could make or break us." "Where are you?" Malcolm was in Willow Creek, helping Caleb build a model rocket. He couldn't tell Vanessa that. She wouldn't understand why a diner in a nowhere town mattered more than a boardroom. But the pressure was mounting, and Malcolm felt torn between his past and his present. Meanwhile, he uncovered more about Ava's life. Walt, the diner regular, shared stories of Elena's struggles. How she'd worked 2 jobs, how she'd cried when Ava dropped out of college, pregnant and alone. Elena had never spoken ill of Malcolm, Walt said, but Ava had grown up feeling his absence like a shadow. Malcolm's guilt deepened, but so did his resolve. One night, as Malcolm helped Ava close the diner, she opened up. They sat at the counter, the neon sign casting a warm glow. Ava spoke of her childhood, moving from one apartment to another, watching Elena work herself to the bone. When Elena died, Ava was 20, pregnant, and terrified. She'd taken the job at Ray's, vowing to give Caleb the life she'd never had. "I used to wait for you," Ava said, her voice soft. "Every birthday I'd think, maybe this year he'll come. But you never did. So I stopped hoping." Malcolm's eyes stung. "I thought I was giving you a better life," he said. "I thought my work would mean something. But I was wrong. I was a coward." Before Ava could respond, the door flew open. A man staggered in, his face red with rage. "Ava," he shouted. "You can't keep him from me." Ava's face drained of color. "Travis, leave. You're not welcome here." Malcolm stood, his instincts kicking in. Travis, Caleb's father, the man who had abandoned them, was drunk. His eyes wild, his fists clenched. "He's my son," Travis slurred. "You don't get to decide." The air crackled with tension. Travis lunged at Ava and Malcolm stepped between them, shoving him back. Travis swung, his fists slamming into Malcolm's jaw. Pain exploded, but Malcolm held his ground, shielding Ava. The fight was chaotic. Tables overturned. Glasses shattered. Ava grabbed a broom and drove Travis out, screaming that she'd call the police. Travis fled, cursing into the night. Ava collapsed, trembling. Malcolm sat beside her, blood trickling from his lip. "You okay?" he asked. Ava nodded, her voice shaky. "He shows up every few years, trying to cause trouble. I got a restraining order. But he doesn't care. I can't let him near Caleb." Malcolm's heart broke. Ava's strength, her battles, were a mirror to his failures. His wealth meant nothing here, but his presence did. And for the first time, he felt he'd done something right. The encounter with Travis shifted something in Ava. She began to trust Malcolm, not as a father, but as someone trying. They talked more, sharing memories of Elena, laughing over Caleb's antics. Malcolm told Ava about his regrets, the loneliness of his empire. Ava listened, her walls lowering. But then came another shock. One evening, Walt pulled Malcolm aside at the diner. "There's something you don't know about Ray's," he said, his voice low. "Ava's been keeping it quiet, but the diner's in trouble. Ray's dying, cancer. He's selling the place. And the buyer's a developer. They're going to tear it down, build condos. Ava will lose her job, maybe her apartment too." Malcolm was stunned. The diner wasn't just Ava's workplace. It was her community, her anchor. Losing it would devastate her. He wanted to help, but he knew Ava would reject his money. He needed a way to save the diner without undermining her pride. Malcolm dug deeper, meeting Ray, a gruff man with a kind heart, who confirmed the sale. "I don't want to sell," Ray said, coughing. "But I got no choice. Medical bills are killing me. Malcolm saw an opportunity, not to buy the diner, but to help Ray keep it. He devised a plan. Using his connections, Malcolm found a nonprofit that supported small businesses, securing a grant to cover Ray's medical bills and keep the diner running. He presented it to Ray as an anonymous donation, ensuring Ava wouldn't feel indebted. Ray agreed, and the diner was saved. But the real climax came when Malcolm invited Ava and Caleb to his penthouse, wanting to show them his world, not to impress, but to be honest. Caleb was awestruck, but Ava was uneasy. The luxury, a reminder of their divide. Over dinner, she asked the question that had haunted her. "Why didn't you fight for me?" Malcolm took a deep breath. "I was scared," he said. "Scared I'd fail you. Scared I didn't know how to be a dad. So I ran. I built this empire to prove I was worth something. But it cost me you. And I've hated myself for it every day." Ava's eyes filled with tears. "I needed you," she said. "When Mom died. When Caleb was born. When I was scared I'd lose everything. I needed my dad." "I know," Malcolm said, his voice breaking. "And I can't undo it. But I'm here now, Ava. I'll show up. Every day. If you'll let me." Ava didn't speak, but she reached for his hand. Her grip, tentative, but real. It was a bridge. Fragile, but there. Over the next year, Malcolm and Ava rebuilt their relationship. Malcolm didn't try to fix Ava's life with money. He became a father. He helped with Caleb's homework, fixed Ava's car, and joined her at the diner, washing dishes during busy shifts. He sold his yacht and donated the proceeds to Willow Creek's community center, creating a space for Caleb and other kids. Ava, with Malcolm's encouragement, enrolled in night classes to become a social worker, her dream to help others like her. She forgave Malcolm, not because he'd earned it, but because she chose healing over pain. They argued, they stumbled, but they kept going, together. Malcolm stepped back from Reed's Enterprises, passing leadership to Vanessa. He moved to Willow Creek, buying a small house near Ava's apartment. He coached Caleb's soccer team, became a regular at Ray's, and found joy in the ordinary: Sunday barbecues, late-night talks with Ava, Caleb's laughter. One evening, as they sat on Ava's balcony, Caleb asleep inside, Ava turned to Malcolm. "I used to think you were untouchable," she said. "But you're just a guy trying to figure it out. Like me." Malcolm smiled, his heart full. "I'm your guy, though. That's enough for me." Ava leaned against him, her head on his shoulder. "Thanks for staying, Dad." The word dad was a gift, one Malcolm would spend his life earning. As the stars lit up Willow Creek, Malcolm knew he'd traded an empire for something priceless: family. 2 years later, Malcolm was unrecognizable, not in wealth, but in spirit. He was a grandfather, a father, a friend to Willow Creek. Ava graduated, her cap and gown a symbol of her strength. Caleb, now 8, called Malcolm Pop, a name that made Malcolm's heart swell. Ray's Diner thrived, a hub of laughter and warmth. Malcolm and Ava worked there together, sometimes bickering over coffee filters, laughing over spilled syrup. The developers' condos never came. The community fought back, and Malcolm's quiet support made the difference. Malcolm's old life, boardrooms, jets, headlines, faded into memory. His new legacy was here, in the love he'd fought for, the trust he'd earned. He and Ava weren't perfect, but they were family, bound by forgiveness and second chances. As Malcolm watched Ava and Caleb dance in the diner to a classical melody, he realized the truth. Wealth could buy a lot, but only love could build a home. And for the first time, Malcolm thought he had it all, until he realized what he truly needed couldn't be built with money, but with time, presence, and love. This story isn't just about a billionaire or a daughter. It's about all of us who've ever missed a moment and wondered if it's too late to make things right. If this story moved you, if you've ever longed for a second chance or found unexpected healing in a broken place, leave a comment and tell me where this touched your heart. Would you forgive if you were in Ava's shoes? Would you fight like Malcolm did to earn back what he lost? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss stories that remind us of what truly matters. And hey, maybe call someone you haven't talked to in a while. Because sometimes, the richest moments in life come from showing up. Just like Malcolm finally did.